What if we refuse to be orderly?
Perfect.
We are on air. We're on air.
Our first item tonight is building permits and planning projects, an update with our wonderful building official, Samantha Vandergriff, and our outstanding planning manager, Laura Weigel.
Good morning, or actually good afternoon, I guess. I'm lost in time here. Samantha Vandergriff, building official. I'm gonna go first. I have a short little update for you guys for the last couple fiscal years, just so you can see a comparison to where we were before and how busy we are now. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I am going to attempt to share, maybe. Back, come on. And now my PowerPoint is not responding. Oh, there we go. I was gonna say, now it's not responding.
I could always try to pull it up too, Sam.
I got it. Now I got to get back to you so I can see where my screen is to share. Sorry, I should have had this prepared. I wasn't expecting to go very, very first. Participants, live. I'm not seeing where I share my screen on this one.
Sit down at the bottom. And Sam, if it's helpful, I can jump in and go first and you can.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. And I'm
going to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, thanks everybody. I'm piggybacking on with Sam tonight, going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the planning department. And I have got mine, an overview kind of listed out in calendar years instead of fiscal years, because that's how we track everything. So just that's a little bit of difference, not in the apples to apples comparison. And then I will talk for just a few minutes about the big projects that we've seen come through in the last couple of years. So, Scott, it says the host has disabled screen sharing.
I'll make you a co-host. Hold on.
Okay.
People keep moving.
Good times with technology.
Okay, try it now.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
There you go.
All right, great. Okay, so let's see. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. So here's just a little snapshot to kind of give you an idea of where we've been with our land use applications from 2017 to where we are now. Looking at type ones and for our audience, kind of they in level of complexity. So type 1 is less complex land use review applications. And those are things such as lot consolidations, property line adjustments, that kind of thing that we can do here internally with the city. And so we're kind of, interestingly enough, on par with where we've been throughout the years. And then oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say, I was looking at the final plats. So they've dipped down a little bit in 2020, which is not to be unexpected. And I think everything was really kind of at a peak in 2017, a lot of these things. And so we're about on par with where we were in 2020, 2019, 2021 with planning one, type 1 applications. And then with type 2s, you can see that it's been pretty consistent over the years with the difference of the 2019. And then with the type 3s, we've actually had quite a bit of type 3s this year. It's been pretty busy, and that's when you kind of get into a level of complexity where you have to go to the Planning Commission. So that is actually really time consuming from staff perspective and the Planning Commission. And then when you're looking at type 4s or type 5s, this year we've had the same as we had last year, and that was really based on the comp plan implementation, or the comp plan in 2020 getting adopted, and then the comp plan implementation is what we're looking at for 2021. And so those are those types of applications where it goes through both the Planning Commission and the City Council. So there's a level of complexity and more time consuming. And then annexations just go straight to you all, and those have been somewhat consistent over the years. And then looking at pre-application conferences. Those are the folks that come in and want to talk about what they're thinking about doing, and we give them kind of the official notes on those. And so as you can kind of see, they peaked in 2017 and have kind of been pretty similar throughout the rest of the years. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'll just take a little pause for a second. And if I don't see any hands raised, I'll just move on to the next slide. Okay. And so this is kind of getting at the number of meetings that we attend and kind of the briefings that we do, and our comp plan implementation committee and our comp plan advisory committee and our meetings with the DLC, just trying to get an understanding of how that work ebbs and flows over the years. And so looking at the first statistic is the DLC and the PC meeting staffed. Those stay pretty consistent throughout each of the years, with a little bit of a drop off with the DLC because we were working on the downtown design guidelines review process, and that slowed down a little bit due to COVID and the comp plan, but we're hoping to ramp that back up. So those meetings have gone down a little bit. Project briefings, you all have been a part of lots of those project briefings from the Planning Commission, the DLC, advisory groups, and they really ramp up in years. As you can see for 2021 is back to kind of the levels that we saw pre-2020, just looking and talking about the comp plan implementation this year. And then the one thing that's kind of changed this year is the intergovernmental coordination meetings attended. I think that there has been a little bit more of that activity that's been happening because there's a lot of stuff that's going on regionally this year because of the state rulemaking. So there's been a lot of more, I think, a deeper level of intergovernmental coordination, just trying to have conversations about how everyone is being impacted and discussing how we're working through all of these things that are coming through the state, which they've been great. It's been a really good process, I think, for talking to our other jurisdictions. And then the other one is looking at open houses, workshops, public involvement, meeting presentations. And so far this year, we've had 13, and most of that had to do with the comp plan implementation. 2020, you'll see, I think COVID was a big transition time and trying to figure out, we were kind of in between projects, which was really actually helpful, I think, at the time, because we got the comp plan adopted, but we'd already done all the public outreach for that. And then we kicked off to the comp plan implementation. So you can see in 2021, we had a lot of outreach meetings. And then just one other thing that we'll look at is the design review that the DLC, when they give recommendations to the Planning Commission on design review. And this year we have actually done that with 2 projects. All right, I'm going to keep going unless I see any hands raised. And so just a few highlights from 2020. Big one, obviously, I won't tell you again how much effort went into this because you are a part of that process. The comp plan adoption, it was adopted in August of 2008, which was a great highlight for the city. Then the big project was that came through development review and went through a whole land use process was the Monroe Apartments. And as I think folks are pretty aware that kind of got put on hold for a little while, but now has come back. And we're working through that now and getting started on the applicants the developers getting started on construction. 234 units. We've got the Monroe Greenway multi-use path, the green building construction, and they're building it out now. So that was a big project that went through the land use review back in 2020, but is now being built. And then we got 2 grants in 2020. One was for the Central Milwaukee's Bikeways Concept Plan. That was an ODOT grant. And then we also got the comp plan implementation phase 1 grant from DLCD. And we actually wrapped both of those grant projects up this year and got the funds from both of those organizations. So that's great that we've been able to use those funds and get those projects wrapped up. And then for 2021, comprehensive plan implementation phase 1. And this, as you can see, one of our lovely Zoom meetings where we had a poll up on the screen at the time, and there we are taking a little picture. So that was a great process. And as you all know, we've gotten it through the Planning Commission, and we'll be coming to you all for our first work session in December. And then we'll be going through the hearings process early next year. But there's been a heavy lift of that work that's been done through 2021, and we're pretty excited about how far it's come along. Look forward to talking to you all about it. And then for the current planning highlights, we've got the Henley Place project that came through the development review process, and that's on the old Kellogg Bowl site. Got 178 units, residential, got a couple of live work on the ground floor. We've got structured parking and also a green building construction as part of that project. Then also a huge project for the city, which I just want to say yay for everyone that's been involved in all of the years. Coho Point went through the development review process, and there's 195 units in that, residential, 7,000 square feet on the ground floor. We're looking at a public access walkway. We're looking at improvements to public plaza at Dogwood Park. It's also green building, and it's been a long-going partnership between the city and the developer. And so that's a really great project and a gateway project to the city. And then also tonight, you'll get to hear, we're having the hearing on the Hillside Master Plan. This has also been a long time in the pipeline. So we're really excited about this project. It's a mixed income project. So there will be market rate and lower income units dispersed throughout. It's got a lot of great open space, tree canopy, and it's also a green building. And so Vera will give you all of the details, and you get to discuss that later this evening. Also, we got 2 grants for 2021. For the transportation system update, we got a grant from ODOT for $250,000. And then we also got a grant from DLCD to do our housing needs and production strategy for $127,000. So those are great awards to get. And so now the work begins on those things. And so then just a quick overview of what's next. Obviously, the comp plan amendments, like I said, they're coming, and the tree code is coming to you. We hope to get that wrapped up early next year. Transportation system plan, working with ODOT, we're going through the scope of work. And so it's a little bit slower than I had originally hoped. I thought we'd be able to jump out of the gate fast, but there's a little bit of work that needs to be done with going back and forth with ODOT. So I'm hoping that that project gets kicked off in the late spring after we get through kind of all of the negotiations with the helpful friends over at ODOT. And then we do have the grant agreement in hand from DLCD for the housing needs analysis. So I hope that we can get that project underway early next year. We're going to go out for bid on that. Then also, I think, as you're all very aware, that we're monitoring the climate-friendly and equitable communities rulemaking through the state, which may have some impacts on our work plan, but we're not quite sure yet. It changes on a regular basis. So once we know what that impact and what that impact is, we will come back to you and kind of give you an overview of the work plan once it's kind of stopped moving around a little bit. And then the neighborhood hubs, that's something that we've been discussing, and now that we've got Joseph on the team and we've kind of got a full team, we're talking a little bit about the strategy for how we move that forward, and how economic development, as they're working on their overview of their strategy for economic development with the city, how we can work together to kind of start thinking about that project. And then, of course, there's always development review, which comes in at any time and takes up lots and lots of our time. And we do enjoy that, but it takes up a lot of the time. And with that, I think that's all I've got for today, unless you all have any questions for me. All right.
Lisa.
Yeah, I'll just note that you said the comp plan was adopted in 2008. I believe you meant 2019.
Well, I meant 2020. I don't know where this was. Sorry about that. Thank you, Councilor Ray. I have no idea where that number came from.
Was it 2020? It was just August of 2020?
It was August of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think so. Yes, because I think it happened right before I got here.
Okay.
Yep. All right. If there's not anything else, I will hand it over to Samantha.
All righty. I got
you.
it. I found it. It was too obvious. It was right in the middle of the screen. Share. Okay, so I have a quick little presentation. These are the permits for you guys from, I can get this to work. So the new single family houses, when I first got here in 2014, we were doing, as you can see, about 7 a year. And last year we capped out at 15. I think mainly because we annexed in Cheragino. and they had, I think it was like 50 lots altogether. So the single family residents have continued to build through the pandemic, but as we are nearing completion of the big subdivision we annexed in, this number will drop drastically in the coming years. We do have a couple of subdivisions. I don't think Laura mentioned those, but I know we have a couple that they're working on right now off of Railroad. So we will have some single family continuing, but most other than that will be infills. Accessory dwelling units. We don't have any data before the fiscal year 16. And then the last year was the 7 was the, when we did the incentive program. So we had 7 of the 10 that came in when we did that. So, and the first official permits for the ADUs was in the 2015. So it was that 2016 fiscal year. The building division fee structure has reduction in permit fees as an incentive for any dwelling unit under 1,500 square feet, which all of the current ADUs qualify for and receive. So that's part of their incentive program for building a smaller house. Multifamily permits. Laura touched on a bunch of these, but this can show you that these are brand new construction. So we had 4 in fiscal year 2018 and 1 in 2019, and then no brand new ones any other time. But the data, it reflects only 5 permits, but in those 5 permits, it accounts for 146 units. Northwest Housing Alternatives rebuild was 3 residential buildings and a shelter, and then the office, and then Axle Tree was the other one that reflects in there. So it's not necessarily indicative when we say 5 permits that it shows a little bit more. This is covering a little bit of what Laura did because I broke it out. So currently in the pipeline for building, Monroe Apartments, 5 buildings, 234 units. Buildings 1 and 2 have been issued. 3, 4, and 5 are still ready. They haven't picked those up yet, mostly because they probably aren't going to start construction on the actual building part of it for a while. So they don't want to pay us the money yet, I'm assuming. Harmony Road Apartments also was issued this last month, 1 building, 15 units. Foundation permits have been issued for Burnham Oaks, which is the Waverly Woods building. And the main permit is still under review, almost ready to go. So it's 1 building, 13 units. And then if I remember right, because this is on the planning realm of things, they have other buildings that are in their comp plan or in their future plan, but not currently applied for or through planning. Ready to issue, which means that they've gone through permits and are just sitting there, are Patricia Estates, which is the corner of 32nd and Olson, I think. And it's 18 units. I had heard that one was not going to build, but then we just got some communication on it lately that they look like they may be moving forward. So we don't necessarily know on that one yet. Bonaventure is our senior housing facility over off of Rusk Road, 1 building, 170 units. In the review queue, Henley Estates, which is the Kellogg Bowl one that Laura touched on, 1 building, 178 units, and applied for through planning, but not submitted to me yet, as both Coho and then Dogwood Station is a small little one on Washington that is 55 units. So altogether, under construction, 281 units, ready to issue 188. In the queue, 178, on the horizon, 250, total of 897 units. And this did not include the Hillside renovation that Laura touched on, because that one wasn't, I knew it was coming, but I didn't realize it was that close to coming. So solar permits. We had a huge jump in solar permits this last year. And I'm kind of thinking it is, so before 2017, I'm going to click back one screen here, but before 2017, we did not capture this by itself. It was just part of the overall building permit when we did permits. So in 2017, because I know it was a goal of council and that we kind of like to know what's going on with those, I started capturing that separately. I went back and tried to do research in the old permitting system, which is a little difficult, but I found what I could. So those ones before 2017 are just what I could find. This last year, I had just personally an individual come to my door and try to sell me solar. And she was saying that PGE has to convert so many or they're going to get fined. So I'm thinking, and then there's a whole lot of incentives with your taxes right now. So I'm thinking that's why we've seen that huge jump. I was wondering because I knew we'd had the jump, but I didn't know the reasoning behind it before that. Building snapshot, July 1st to October 31st. We did 1,976 inspections, an average of 22 inspections a day, 682 issued permits, an average of 7 to 8 a day, average of 75 emails in just the building inbox, not including our personal inboxes for the three of us. And all of those are responded to within 24 to 48 hours. And an average of 45 plan reviews in the queue at any given time. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll quit sharing my screen here if I can go back.
I definitely had some questions. And,
okay.
Back
you want me to leave the PowerPoint up or go?
I would like you to go back to the page with Burnham Woods first. I was just surprised by that they told us they were building 4 buildings and 2 first and then the rest later. And now it's saying only 1. Do you know what happened there?
I don't. And Laura, you may be able to chime in. The only one I've seen and the only one they've proposed to building is 1 building right now.
And if I remember correctly, Councilor Beatty, that the commitment at first was only 32 units.
I don't think that's what they told us in their hearing, but
I will confirm with you tomorrow because I just want to be sure to get it right, but I will send you a note and let you know.
Okay. The thing that I don't see on here is the senior living by Providence. So is that accounted for here?
Oh, it's not. It's not. So that one was, I don't remember how many units. Laura, do you remember how many units that one is?
The senior living by Providence didn't get their HUD funding. We just found out a couple of days ago, they were short 2 points. They have been told to and encouraged to apply again next year. So we're really fingers crossed, hoping that they will get approval next year. And so that will still come in. But right now it's on hold.
Okay.
Just found out.
That's too bad. Okay. And then on your next page, Sam, there was something else there. Oh, Dogwood Station. I've never heard of that before. And you said it's on Washington. Where is that?
It's on Washington and the tracks, the Max tracks. It's right there.
That older house.
There's an older building right there, a single family house. And it is it 3 or 4 stories, Laura? Do you remember? This one is not into me. It just came into planning in like the last 2 weeks. They submitted for like a pre-app, so it's brand new into planning.
We're working through the completeness with them. They have submitted an application, but it hasn't been deemed complete. We're hoping that is going to happen here pretty soon and that it will come through Planning Commission in January. And right now, I believe it's 55 units. It's affordable housing at 80%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the clarification.
Do you know who the developer is on that one?
It is a group of folks, a smaller group of folks. The name is escaping me right now. That do smaller projects like this throughout the Portland region, and I cannot remember the name off the top of my head.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
I would say thank you for this overview. It's really nice to have this all encapsulated like this and to kind of have the big picture and the totals, because these are questions I get all the time, and it's really useful to have all of this information just kind of here at my fingertips. So thank you for putting it together. And thank you, Laura, too, for your presentation. I really appreciated that you went through types, kind of the permitting process. I think that can be really opaque to basically anyone who's not us or the Planning Commission. So I hope that that the public has an opportunity to look at that and get a little more familiar with what those different categories mean, because they don't need to be as opaque as they can be.
I completely agree. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because through our joint meeting with the Planning Commission and the NDAs, there was a conversation about how there's just been a lot of change in a lot of the NDAs. And that would be a great time to go back out and talk to the NDAs and talk to anybody else that wanted to attend the NDAs about what the development review process is and how people can get involved, because it is a little confusing to everyone. And so I think it's up to us to kind of continue to talk to people about that. And we're going to take some opportunities to do that this year or next year.
Great. I wondered if this was, and I watched that meeting, so I was wondering if this was in part a response to that conversation. So it's good to hear that you're already on it. So
Ryan, we're working on it.
Well, thanks for listening to our presentation. And
No, thank you. It was really good. Very interesting.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next up we have the library board and annual update from our wonderful library director, Kitty Newell.
I had to take down the pretty picture. Sorry, I would have rather left that up than me. Good evening, Councilor and Mayor. And I haven't met Desi in person yet, but we'll get there one of these days. I have with me Jess Stetson. She's the chair of the library board, and she will be starting us off tonight.
Good evening, everyone. As Kitty said, I'm Jess Stetson, she, her. I've been on the library board since my kid was much littler than he is now, which is my segue into you will hear him playing a recorder downstairs. So I apologize in advance because he's really bad at it. My goal tonight is to just talk to you about what the board has done. Obviously, it's been a very weird time for all of us in this pandemic era, so we've done our best. But the thing that I really want you all to center on when you're hearing me talk about these things is that the library board is incredibly passionate. We all get on these calls on Monday nights. It's during dinner time for some of us. It's during school things for some of us, but we're all there. We're all present because we truly want to see the library succeed. And we truly want the library to have the support that it needs from the board as well. So when you hear these things that we're doing, we do them with passion. We don't just sit there and, stare at a wall kind of off to the side. I do that sometimes, but never during Katie's meetings. So board members, there has been some movement on the library board this year. So at the end of March, we lost Carol Miller and Jason Price. We didn't lose them. They're still with us, but they are no longer on the library board. It was very interesting to see them go because they've been there since before I had. And it just, again, speaks to how much people enjoy contributing for the library. They started, I think, in April of 2015, and they were replaced by Jason Tanamore and Christina Thomas to fill those vacant positions. We also have 2 youth members that are part of the pilot program for the library board. Reese Healy and Jenna Stein were both nominated and accepted, I guess, through June of 2022. So it's fun to have them on as well. Sometimes we tell like old people jokes, even though I'm not that old, and watch their eyes roll a little bit, but it's been nice to have their voices in the room as well. The current board member, which includes our youth members, Jason and Christina, also includes Carla Branson, Robin Chedister, who's the vice chair, Ann Hilliger, whose name I always pronounce, and Ann, if you're there, I'm very, very sorry, Aaron Lee, and then myself as chair. We've been doing monthly meetings via Zoom almost every month. We've missed a couple because of holidays and that kind of thing. But again, we usually have a quorum, everybody shows up and everybody brings them their full selves to those library board meetings. Volunteering, we've all kind of dabbled in what we can in this pandemic world of joining Zoom meetings and trying to help the library board out in any way we can. Robin she goes to LDAC for us, for which we're very thankful. Erin Lee and myself, we are both volunteers with the Clackamas County Library District Task Force. That was sent to really ramp up before COVID. We're just kind of in a wait and see mode at this point, but we will both participate in that. And then Robin also served on the library's foundation board.
Just a side note on that one, the city managers pretty much put the kaputs on the task force for right now. They wanted all the cities needed time to get back in shape after the pandemic. So that task force, we had Shane, Abma, and Jess, and Aaron on that. We might still be asking them to come back, but it might be another year or two before we're able to get that task force back up and running. Sorry, go ahead.
No, thanks, Katie. So COVID, I don't know if you all know, there's a pandemic, but the library has really been delivering, especially over the past, I would say, 12 months when people have really gotten their feet underneath them. So the whole goal, the whole priority during this pandemic so far has been the library providing service to the community. And every time that we get on our board meetings, that's the first thing that Katie brings to us. This is the way that we were able to do outreach. This is the way we were able to involve the community, because of course the library is that cultural community center. And so we want to continue to provide services. Katie's done a great job along with her team. There's been a big increase of online offerings. This is very anecdotal, but I was looking at my Goodreads account the other day, and I've read 60 online books from the Clackamas County libraries in Clackamas County. So that just shows not only that people are using the online resources, and I know Katie will talk about statistics in a few minutes, but it's also become very apparent how you access those resources. So if I call the library, I know how to get the books on my Kindle, that kind of thing, and that outreach has continued through the pandemic. There's also been free books, free sack lunches to families. So that was ongoing. We participated in it. I know some of you did as well. And it was a fun little thing to get everybody out of the house and allow us to breathe some of that fresh air. And then, of course, the in-person pickup of library items, first curbside, and then the lobby opened. So that was very exciting for us earlier this year for the lobby opening, and then late last year for curbside. Folks are, of course, now allowed into the library to browse and use computers. That started on June 22nd, 2021. Daytime hours were Monday through Saturday. And then on July 1st, the library added evening and Sunday hours. So when you think about what our priorities are for the upcoming year, we all have that continued goal of opening the library at full capacity and getting more folks in there. I know we're all excited in the library board to use that big, beautiful conference room as well. So we're looking forward to coming in with lots of masks on and that kind of thing, but it's definitely a priority. Katie, I know there was a couple of things you wanted to add there.
For the priorities or?
For COVID.
COVID, yes. I do want to give a shout out to especially our children's department. They have been phenomenal. They did and are still continuing to do weekly story times through Zoom. All of you participated in our story time in April, this past April, by having a counselor and the police chief and the city manager. Oh, my lights finally came on. So that was very well received, and the kids love seeing all of you tell a story. So that was really nice. Jana and her crew were doing the grab and go crafts, and then they worked with the NCPRD, the parks, to come in and hand out free lunch once a week. And we had been doing that before COVID. So we were so grateful that we were able to still do that. Everybody would wear a mask. They would come in. We found the most popular item were the bubble machines. If we put those on and put on the little, oh golly, it's not a jukebox. Yeah, the little, it's not the great big boom box that I used to have. It's a little mini boom box, but they would play that and kids would just love it. They would just sit out there for an hour and just, watching the bubbles and dancing and singing. And it was just a way to get outside. And they did that for 2 summers. And it was, especially this past summer, but the summer before, when all of this was new, they were out there getting the kids to come in and do things and still be protected. So this was something that during COVID, they all took care to make everybody healthy. I want to say my staff as a whole, none of us got sick last year. This is probably the first time ever since I've been there that no one got sick because we all wore masks the entire time. And, so we are still wearing masks and we will still be wearing them for as long as it takes. It might be forever, but we're good with this. And our patrons have been really good about it too. So we feel comfortable being open and providing service to the city of Milwaukee, the community here. So go ahead, Jess.
Thanks, Kitty. My last piece here is just the priorities for the upcoming year. Again, getting folks into the library, getting folks an understanding of what they can access as a part of the library, especially as we start to more fully open, knock on wood. The second priority of the board really was the continued supportive relationship with the library district. So libraries in Clackamas County during COVID-19, that's where we participate in LDAC. LDAC advises the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners on the formulation of policy regarding the funding of the library district. So again, Robin, who is our vice chair, has represented the Letting Library at LDAC meetings since May of 2020. They're continuing their meetings via Zoom. And as Katie said, the task force will likely start again soon, knock on wood. And then other priorities, update the bylaws to conform to new boards and committee standards. And with that, I will throw it to Katie, who will talk a little bit more about that.
We did do the bylaws. Scott brought before you a standard bylaws for all of the boards and committees. And so we decided just to go ahead and jump in, take our bylaws, and which were 2 pages, and fit them into the longer bylaws that are standard across the board for all of the boards and committees. We are the first ones to do it. They're in your packet. I think we fit in well. A little bit more information than we had previously put into our bylaws, but we reviewed them again last night, went over, looked for typos. So if you see one, it's not just my eyes, we all missed it, but they approved it and are bringing it to you to have you also see this. These are the templates that you approved. We fit ours into the template, and then we want to present it as our new bylaws. And eventually I will do a resolution and bring it for you for consent. Stats, and unless anybody has any questions about the bylaws.
Just, you mentioned that you discussed them last night. So were there changes from the one that's in our packet, or?
Nope, we just approved it last night. I just want everybody to have one more read through, and if there had been any changes, I would have had to bring it up, but there were none. And so they approved bringing it into to council tonight. I just wanted to touch briefly on our statistics. We had kind of a not a lost year last year. I was very, very pleased overall that we did as well as we did. We still managed to check out, let me see, fiscal year, 320, almost 325,000 items last year. The year before, when we had been in the pod and then we reopened for a couple of months and then had just been closed, we did a little bit more, but that was because of the 3 months that we were open at the new library. Our stats kind of, flew off the charts when we were first reopening. But so we were able to keep up our, checkouts to some part. The patron counts obviously dropped because we weren't letting people in. for the longest time. For the months of July to March, we were counting people's library cards, how many times a library card was used to pick up items, because that was the only way that we could kind of, I don't know why it just keeps on. Oh, well. That was the only way we could kind of keep track of how many people were actually coming in to check out items from us. We obviously didn't have computers, but we still had people using our Wi-Fi from outside and, around the library, they could still use the Wi-Fi. So lots of usage of that. Our volunteers, we still were able to get people in to volunteer. Wasn't a lot. And mainly it was the friends running their book sales because we weren't allowing people to come inside. So these were friends who were sorting books, sorting donations, doing things, not coming into the library, but doing things for the library outside of us. And I mean, this is what kept us going. It wasn't just us working inside the building. It was all these people working around the whole community to make sure that we were able to do a book sale, that we were able to have a presence at the market, because they sold books outside the library for people, which was kind of a reminder to people that, hey, the library is still here. We did not do many programs, but we did some, and a lot of them were online. We had, the story times. We had the read with the dog. We had just different programs that people could interact. A lot of them, we had the Lego guy do several shows for us so kids could play with those throughout the summer. And so we tried to do as much as we could to kind of keep people in touch and around for the year of 21. We were so excited that at the end of June, we were finally able to let people come in, use the computers, be there. And then July 1st, we opened up our doors to everybody. Evenings are, full hours open, and people have just rewarded us by, I'm trying to look, I have some stats for this year, for the starting in July. We are circulating, well, it was like 47,000, 50,000, 48,000, and 49,000 that we've done since we opened our doors. We've been, the computers are over 1,500 now of computer sessions. That was in the month of October. Our patron visits is over 12,000. So people are coming back, and we're very excited about that. Volunteer hours are, 77 people volunteered for 569 hours last month. Well, yeah, in October. And we're getting there. Our poetry series has been meeting throughout on Zoom, and they are filming them, and we're looking to do some type of hybrid, because not everybody wants to come out on the second Wednesday of the month. So now they can watch it from home, and it's taped, and Willamette falls, tapes it for us, and then we have it, and then we get to, people can view it whenever they want. So that's actually been a big plus for us, to have things that are available to people for longer than just that one night. So we have liked doing that. Every year I try to do the one little, what is your library worth? And so in fiscal year 21, even with all of our short hours and less people in and all that, we still when they went through, because I had no programs to really put in, and we didn't have our any of our rooms used or anything like that. So it was just, pretty much things borrowed. We still are worth $8,704,507.30. So the library, I always feel and will always feel that it's the best value in any community. So thank you all for what you all do to bring us and be so supportive of us in this town. Any questions? I don't have much else.
Don't you have some awards to talk about?
Oh, I don't have the magazine yet. I'm just like beside myself. So we won, well, we got the cover of the Library Journal to have our brand new library on the cover of the design issue. Now, the problem is I haven't been able to see it, so I could open up and see what they say about us, or is it just the picture? So I don't know yet. This technically should have gone in the 2020 edition. And we were going to try and get it. We just didn't have the pictures ready when they needed their submittal. So we didn't submit. And then this year they called me and said, hey, why aren't you putting in your library? I said, well, that was 2020. And they said, oh, 2020, 21. Oh, just it fits, put it in. And so we did. And they put us on the cover, of which, of course, we're all thrilled to pieces and so excited. And then we got 2 awards, one in the Portland area and then one in the whole Northwest. One was an honorable mention and one was a special merit for design awards. I wish I could say that it was my design, but no. We just, we inhabited, but the hacker did a great job for us, and it's a beautiful library. Now that we're on the cover, I'm getting more and more calls from people. When can I come look at your library? Oh, we're building a library. Coos Bay I was just on the phone with, they're building a library in Coos Bay, and they want to come up and schedule a visit. And I was talking to them for a really long time. We've had the people from Vancouver coming down to visit our library and see what all that we have. So we've become quite the tourist spot for libraries. So I'm really happy. I'm one of those that can make a tour of the library, a short one, be really long, because I just can't, it's just like, oh, wait, you have to see this. And, oh, wait, come over here. And they're like, wow, we were only going to be here about 20 minutes. I'm like, not on my watch. So they stay and they love it. So thank you for reminding me about those. I was looking just before I left to come home. I was looking for the actual article, the actual, November Library Journal, and it still hasn't showed up. I hope someone didn't snag it from our bin because they wanted to see it first, but we haven't seen it yet. I want to find out how to get more copies. I just, but I got to get the one first so I can show everybody. Anything else?
Congratulations to everybody. I know it was a huge effort. Councilor Falconer was on your committee and lots of citizens, and yeah.
Mark was on it too, the mayor. Yeah, it was such the group effort. My screensaver, you can't see it, is all of us in hard hats outside. We had a meeting and we're out front. I'm going to send it out to you, Angel, later on, because I had it, it's been on my computer, and I was just looking at that. It's we're there in our hard hats, and it's not even a building yet. It's getting close, but we're in the mud, and so I keep it there to remind me what we did.
Katie, is the publication the Library Journal? The November?
Yes, it's called
November.
Library Journal, and it's November issue, November 21.
I mean, the picture has made the rounds on Facebook fairly well, the picture
Yeah.
cover, but it would be nice to see the inside and what it.
I know. I just want to see, are we mentioned beyond that? Or is it just like, on the inside the cover page where they put, oh, photographed by blah, blah, and that's it, so I don't know yet. I have to keep on being patient, which isn't always my best side. So, but it's, as soon as I get it, you'll probably hear me, yippee-yi-yo and all that kind of stuff. So we hope to get it soon and then get more copies just so people can have it. I mean, I've had some of the staff like, well, I want a copy and I want a copy. So, I might have to see if I can get extra copies brought in for people. I wish they had gotten the front though. I was kind of curious that they chose, they got several pictures submitted and they chose the back one. It's a beautiful picture though. It makes it, it really does look really nice. So.
Yeah, it is a beautiful shot. I was impressed, and it takes a lot to impress me.
Yeah.
And it was really well seen that they, because to my mind, it sort of illustrates how connected that library space is to that beautiful natural area.
That was such an important thing that the task force, really focused on. And so, the front of the building has, I think, has been represented really well in lots of different places. And I think that it gets overlooked that, not the shape of the building, the footprint, as well as the height of the roof was literally designed around existing trees. And I don't know that that really gets discussed as much, but that was certainly important to the construction task force and very intentional. And so I was really happy to see that picture actually was the one that was chosen.
Yeah, even the foundation makes, and that you can see that in that shot too, if you look. I think it's actually a really perfect shot. I was jealous I hadn't shot it.
I kind of wanted like a whole spread, open it up and then inside there would be like, oh, and here's the down part where you're looking out and you see the amphitheater, and oh, and here's the part where you see this, because there's so many good shots.
You may have it, Katie.
Yeah, I know. Who knows?
Wait, it could be that Letting Library is the centerfold for the library journal.
Like the whole centerfold, yes. Wow, that would just be amazing. I think Hacker would have told me by now because they would have heard. The hardest thing is I was talking to Hacker when they were asking me to meet with some other people, and Laura Klinger, who had been our, one of the main, on the design team and everything, she says, oh, by the way, I wanted to let you know you're going to be on the cover of Library Journal, but you can't tell anyone. And I'm like, then you shouldn't have told me. I said, I'll be such a blabbermouth. So I was like being really, really good not to blab. And so I was like really happy that and then so she sent the cover, but it's not because she said, have you gotten your hard copy yet? I still want to see the inside. And it's like, no, still haven't. But if she hadn't been able to send that to us, and then it was on Instagram, and some of our staff were looking at our Instagram, saw that, and they put it right on. So that was, and we've gotten really good, very, very positive comments from people. Which is all along, that is just what I wanted for this library. I wanted, when people walked in, I wanted people to say, wow, and be, this is my library. And I really do feel that people feel like that. The people of Milwaukee, when they come in, they are very excited that this is their library.
And I think you see that in the work of the library committee as well. And thank you, Jessica, for all of the work that you all have done. I know that the library has always been important to me. I'm in there all the time, Katie can tell you, but I think that as hard as the pandemic has been and continues to be, this has really been also an opportunity for us all to see how important the volunteer work is, how important the committee work is in supporting a place that's really in many ways the heart of our community. So thank you for doing all that, for figuring out ways to continue to contribute, even as we're all figuring out how to just stay on our feet in the pandemic. I think the library board really did a great job of just staying connected and being there for each other and for the community and for library staff. And that's no small gift on your part. So thank you.
And if I can jump on real quick, thank you and kudos for being the first ones to get their bylaws streamlined. You're going to make it. You've set the bar very high. No pressure, Peter, and other staff liaisons who might be listening. But thank you for doing that real quickly and so well. Thank you.
Scott, do you owe me to do the resolution then, maybe?
For December 7th. I think we'll bring it December 7th, Katie.
Okay. So, well, thank you all. And Jess, thank you for all that you do. Couldn't have made it through some of these months without the board there. We keep on talking about the big party we're gonna have when we get to meet together, and I think we're up to like 4 cakes now. That like, oh, we need a cake for this party, and we need a cake for this. So we're gonna have a big party when we finally do get to meet together. So, thank you. That was all we had. Bye.
All right. And our final item for the work session is a City Hall project update that will be led by Kelly. I didn't see Kelly on here. Is she here?
I don't believe so, Mr. Mayor.
So, Joe, our brand new Community Development Director.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to preface this with, I don't know what I don't know. So forgive me if some of this is redundant. Forgive me. Yeah, I'm not sure how much y'all been aware of, heard. I'm actually speaking to the current City Hall and what is going to be happening there. As far as what's going to happen at the Advanced Credit Union, I have no update tonight, so forgive me. That's more Kelly's update. So with that, I'm going to assume you know a little bit, but maybe I'll just touch base on, the city purchased the property back in 1937-ish from the school district. And there is reversionary clause on some of the open space on the property that basically says that if you change it from park, that it needs to go back to the school district. So I want to make sure, do I need to go into that a little bit? Are you familiar with that?
We're all familiar.
Cool. All right. Then we'll skip that. I will give a shout out to our city attorney, Justin, for being just incredible with old documents and understanding them quite a bit, even more so than surveyors. So he did a great job today. But essentially, so here's the update. In order to make any kind of transition cleaner and just provide assurance to any new tenant, whether they're buying or leasing, we are working with a firm right now, a survey firm, to replat the area, the block, so that the open space component and the building itself are separate from one another. So then therefore there's no issue down the line. So anyone who does lease the building or own it, they don't have to deal with any of the school district issues with regard to reversionary rights. So that's what we're currently in the process. I plan on having a professional service agreement dotted and lined next week with the firm. And then after we do that, they'll do all the survey work. And then we are going to do a replat. So that's actually a land use process with planning. So I'll be submitting an application to my planning manager. And that will be roughly, I'm guessing 4 to 6 months from the replat to the preliminary plat approval to the final recordation that happens at the county. 4 to 6 months, actually, just to play it safe. So let's count on that. That's my goal. Once we get preliminary approval, the idea is to also work towards hiring an appraiser to do an appraisal of the building and then taking it to a surplus hearing before council so that we can discuss a lot of the issues that were already discussed at the City Hall Blue Ribbon Committee. So goals like keeping the facade historic, making sure that the shell is untouched and the inside can change, but make sure there's a lot of things that stay intact. Working with minority businesses and women-owned businesses, that'll also probably be part of that conversation as well. So look to have that surplus hearing in the early 2022, so late winter, early spring. This would be my guess. And then after that, well, hire a broker and go to market with whether we can find a potential tenant to do something really innovative. And if that's something that the city council wishes to do as far as have a lease versus an owner, actually, that's something, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm saying the feedback I've received is that there's both are kind of on the table, lease or sell at some point. So I'm just assuming that is still potential depending on what type of tenants we potentially get and what type of buyers we potentially get. So
I got a little lost in the timeline there. When would we put out the RFQ or RFP or whatever we're doing?
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do that until after the surplus hearing. And so the surplus hearing, my guess right now is 4 to 6 months from now.
Okay.
And any other questions? Sorry. Yeah. That could happen faster. It just depends on how fast we get this work done with the survey and how fast it happens with the replat. We're working through some nuance, but again, I'm just giving myself a buffer to set expectations for now. And that's it for the current building. I know eventually we'll move to the new building. I'm not sure where that's at, but if you have any other questions, happy to try to answer.
So if we retain we sell or lease the portion of the lot with the building and we retain the rest, so then we retain the maintenance burden, or is that something we can still sort of put in the contract for the buyer to be responsible for maintenance and stuff?
Yeah, thanks, Councilor Beatty. It'd be great if we could, but no, yeah, the city will continue to maintain all the open space. Unless we could potentially lease that space over. And then there could be discussion there. But yeah, as far as where we're at now, that would be still city maintained and operated.
Given that the city wants to maintain, or the community seems to want to maintain access to that, it seems like we ought to be doing the maintenance work on it. And I am curious, we could potentially lease back the parking lot, I would guess, as some sort of agreement around the sale of the building or lease of the building. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's likely what will happen. I mean, I assume that anybody that would want to buy the building or lease the space would definitely want to have some assurance of parking, especially if it's a hospitality venture or something along those lines.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm really glad we've been able to come up with a solution for this, and I know it'll take a little time to work it through, but it seems like a pretty straightforward process. It's just going to take a little extra doing. That's all. So I'm glad to hear that you're keeping Justin on his toes.
He's keeping me honest too. He's great. I really appreciate him.
Great.
Anybody else? Any other questions? All right, cool. Well, yeah, I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are interested in that property and have some ideas. So the sooner we get an RFQ out, the better, probably. All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned for the work session. We will be back in regular session at 6 o'clock. So we'll see you all then. Oh, and just a heads up for you all. I'm going to pull the floating, whatever that floating docks, the floating buildings code piece. I think having that the same night as we're trying to do Hillside is too much, because I think there's work that needs to be done on both. So let's concentrate on Hillside tonight and then bring the floating dock back.
In fact, if I could add just a little bit on that too, because I think what we'll do is during the city manager's comments, Anne's off on vacation this week, so I'm the acting city manager. So I will pull that from the agenda for the reasons that Mayor Gamble was mentioning, and we'll bring it back at a later date.
Cool. All right. See you all in a little bit.